Hello, my name is Jimmy Yang. I am an officer in Matsu Island, that is the Republic of China, Taiwan, an island at the outskirts of China, at the frontier of Taiwan. I stationed here. Now I will read to you the Constitutional Court judgment here. Summary of TCC Judgment 111, Shenpan 18, 2022. Case on the retroactivity of the provisions on the confiscation of proceeds of crime. It's about whether the confiscation of proceeds of crime is constitutional. In this judgment, the Taiwan Constitutional Court, TCC, upheld the constitutionality of Article 2, Paragraph 2 of the Criminal Code. The said provision was amended in 2015 and shall apply to the confiscation of proceeds of crime at the time of judgment, which provoke doubts on whether the amended text bears retroactive effects to crimes that happened before the promulgation of the amendment, that is, before 2015. The TCC ruled that since the disputed provision is a non-penal measure, it is a non-penal measure to rectify the unlawful property allocation caused by the crime. It does not violate the principle of non penal sine lege, the principle of lex retro non-agit, that is the principle of non-retroactivity, and the principle of legitimate expectation enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of China in Taiwan. Background of the case. Before the enforcement of the new confiscation scheme, due to the insufficient regulation on the confiscation of criminal proceeds in Article 38, Paragraph 1, Subparagraph 3, and Paragraph 3 of the Criminal Code, that is the version of 2014. And the restriction on the scope of the substantial object acquired directly from the crime set by the judicial letters of 1941. The offender and the bona fide third party may keep their proceeds of crime in the form of converted value or considerations. If the pertaining civil responsibility were not pursued, then the insufficiency in the aforementioned provision made it unable to deter crimes. Therefore, the legislator passed the new confiscation scheme through amendment on the Criminal Code in 2015. In pursuance of upholding the fairness and the inviolability of legitimate legal order, strengthening the people's trust in the rule of law, and ensuring that the public interest of society working accordingly to the legitimate order. Summary of the judgment holding. The provision 2 of the Article 2 of Paragraph 2 of the Criminal Code, herein after the said provision. For confiscation, the law enforced at the time of judgment shall apply. That is, the law enforced at the time of judgment instead at the time of the commitment of the crime shall apply. So the law enforced at the time of judgment shall apply. When applying the confiscation stipulated in Article 38-1, Paragraph 1 and 2 of the Criminal Code, is not in conflict with the principle of non penal sine lege, the principle of lex non-agit. Lex retro non-agit, that is the principle of non-retroactivity, and the principle of legitimate expectation, therefore not in violation of the Constitution. Okay, bye-bye.